Can everybody hear me on the phone?
Yes.
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 Okay, you're started. Thank you. All right, action. Thank you all for your patience, by the way. Very quickly, I want to thank everybody this evening. Hopefully everybody's family, friends, and loved ones are safe and healthy. That's the first thing, of course. Tonight is October 13, 2020. It's a Tuesday. We're going to call the meeting to order. It's the City Council Committee on Finance. We're going to close the meeting to order and do a roll call vote. Madam Clerk.
Chairman Iglesias.
Present, please.
Vice Chairwoman Ryan.
Present.
Councilwoman Castillo.
Present.
Councilwoman Anthony.
Present.
Councilman Taylor.
Here.
You all present. You do have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'm going to also take the time to thank the clerks again, of course, going through these, taking care of these meetings for all of us, day in and day out, and they're doing a great job. Very quickly, if we could do a motion to continue item number 1.
So moved.
By the Vice Chair, second by Councilman Taylor. In favor, aye. Motion carries.
Aye.
Let the record reflect that President Pro Tem Correa is present. Councilman Espinel is present. Councilman Goncalves is present. Gina Acosta, Internal Auditor. Jimmy Lombardi, the Treasurer. Ernie Almonte, our Special Assistant. And I think so we have at this time, okay? Next up, next item, let's move on to item, Madam Clerk, item number 2, please.
In ordinance establishing a compensation plan for the City of Providence and repealing ordinance chapter 219-110, number 338, December 26, 2029, as amended.
Thank you. So we have a substitution first. We have a motion to substitute item number 2 for 2A, and 2A is this is the compensation ordinance. Is there a
So
motion
moved.
to that effect?
So moved.
Motion by second by Councilwoman Castillo. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So that's amendment substitution. I guess it's 2A now, right? 2 for 2A. Right, 2 for 2A. And next we have next item number 3, Madam Clerk.
In ordinance establishing the classes of position, the maximum number of employees, and the number of employees in certain classes in the city departments, and repealing ordinance chapter 219-111, number 497, approved November 26, 2019, as amended.
Thank you. We have a motion to substitute item number 3 for 3A
So moved.
this time.
Second.
By Vice Chair, second by Councilman Castillo. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. So we have the 2 substitutions. Let's do this just for my committee members, council members, and of course the folks involved. As we all know, where we are today with the city's finances, we've gotten some reports. Presently, as you know, the state still owes the city approximately $32 million from past June for our pilot money. Unfortunately, dating back over to March, our hotel tax, our meal and beverage tax, our parking meters, our speed cameras and the like, all those revenue sources are down and continue to go down until at least the rest of this year. Hopefully come January, seems like come January, February, the State House will hopefully finally pass a state appropriation, state budget, which will then hopefully identify what appropriations they will bestow upon the cities and towns. So that's next year, God willing. As you know, what the council has done so far, there's approximately 4 parts of the budget. There's a levy, there's a comp and classification, and of course there's the appropriations. As you know, the council has already approved the levy, which was done many months ago, and that levy set the tax rate. And as we all know, we didn't increase the taxes. Taxes stayed the same this fiscal year, and will continue the rest of the year. And then the other piece of the budget is the comp and classification and the cost appropriations. This evening, we did a substitution of the comp and classification ordinances, and we're going to have the internal auditor and Ernie Almonte, Treasurer, explain what those substitutions, what they mean, and what it's about. But it's the constant, the continuing vigilance of this committee and the council to make sure we do financially responsible moves to prepare, hopefully, prepare for the worst and hope for the best, in which this just continues that these are, what we're dealing with is vacant positions and pay raises for non-union folks, not union folks. And the internal audit will talk about it. It comes up to about roughly $4 million. And that's in the mayor proposed a budget with these $4 million worth of new jobs and pay raises. And so what we're doing is we're going to dial that back. Come January and February, as you all know, the administration will then come before the committee again, and they'll be talking about what they want the appropriations to be, meaning how they want to spend the money. And then, of course, if we need to make amendments to the comp classification, meaning if they want to add some more jobs or give out pay raises, they can bring that back up when they know they have the money come January and February. This is just a financial prudent measure, so this way we continue to put a conservative financial approach to the budget, so we don't overspend, we don't overhire, we don't get ourselves further into a financial bind that we potentially are in right now. So with that said, just to give you a little backdrop and understanding where we are. And what we'll end up doing is we'll discuss it. I'm going to have the internal auditor. She prepared these documents, and I believe the committee members, you got the documents in front of you. So look, can you give us an overview of what the compensation ordinance is and what the classification ordinance is, and then what would the change, and what the changes are?
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Anthony.
Do we have copies of these substitution documents to review?
Yes, you should, Madam. I'm sorry, Councilman, you should have had them. Hang on 1 second. You should have received them. Where would they be?
Through the email.
Councilman, can you check your email? The clerk is telling me that they emailed them to the committee members. Can you check?
Chair, can you tell me when? Oh, and that was
Hang on.
46?
1 second. 1 second. She's trying to find it. If you can bear with us, we'll make a call to the senior, the city clerk, and find out when he sent them, and find out if he has to resend them. Okay? We'll wait a moment.
I have them.
Councilwoman? Oh, you have them?
But they were dated 4/46, so I certainly wouldn't have had an opportunity to review them at all.
Oh, no,
She just received them, yeah, she just was asking for it.
Oh, okay. He just sent them, yeah. Sorry, Councilwoman.
They're on the Confluence site too.
Yeah, he just,
Yeah, I'm trying to do
I
it.
hang on 1 second.
just see them until 4.
Wait,
I haven't had a chance.
hang on 1 second. Madam Clerk, where are they?
I'm sorry?
Where are they to be seen?
Where are they to be seen? In their,
Now they should be able to be seen by all.
did you send them the email, to everybody's emails? Yes, they have to send the committee members' email.
So if every committee member, councilman, go to the emails and the Confluence site, for this, Mr. Clerk said, that we posted?
Both.
Both.
I have the documents, sir, Mr. Chair. They
Madam
were
Vice Chair,
sent
you have?
to the committee. Yep, I have them.
At 4:46. I
Right.
just want to confirm
Yep.
the time.
Yep, I recognize that. Mr. Mancini, can you see them on the Confluence?
I'm going to check now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay. So, Madam Order, why don't you give us a quick overview while Mr. Mancini confirmed that he has them, okay?
Okay, I'm going to start with the compensation ordinance. The way the compensation ordinance was submitted in April is there are two parts to it. Excuse me. Part A was completely deleted because this was if they did not provide wage increases to 1033 and non-union members. So that has been completely deleted. So Part B is basically a mirror with the 2% increases. The changes in Part B is that all non-union members did not receive the 2% increase. The pay scale represents their current rate, which does not include the 2% increase. All vacant funded positions as of May 5th, per this committee, were deleted. All new positions were deleted. That is a total of about $4.1 million. As far as the classification ordinances,
All right, and so,
go ahead. Sorry.
Madam Oda, continue.
Okay, in the classification ordinance, all new positions were deleted. All vacant funded positions were deleted if obviously there are more than one position in the city in that department with that, it was just reduced by the number that was deleted.
Okay. And does will this have any impact on administration right now?
It will restrict any hiring from last year's budget ordinances, which some of these positions have been vacant for maybe even last fiscal year.
Okay.
And it will prohibit any additional hiring.
But it allows that if an existing position that has a person who retires, you can hire that position again, right?
Yes, if the position is
Right.
currently active right now, it is still in the ordinance.
Right, so if a person is in a position getting paid and they decide to retire this month or next month, then the administration will be able to fill that position if they so choose, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Okay. Mr. Mancini, did you, let's select the Kevin McHugh. Mr. Mancini, did you have a question? Oh, no.
So, Mr. Chairman, I haven't been sworn in yet. Did you have me sworn in?
Madam Clerk?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the penalty and perjury of the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do. Lawrence J. Mancini, Chief Financial Officer, City of Providence. So, Mr. Chairman, I did go to the portal and I did see the documents listed in the chronological date of today, but I don't see a red line version or a version that the internal auditor is speaking to. Has it been marked different?
Yeah,
They only went to the council members.
Okay, so the administration is at a disadvantage this evening, Mr. Chairman. I would hope that you would entertain the notion or motion that we would have opportunity to review this before any definitive action is taken this evening.
You know, as I mentioned to you earlier, Mr. Mancini, what this is the continuing process to maintain prudent financial controls in the city's budget. And this evening, the committee is doing the substitutions for discussion, and then wants to give the administration opportunity next week, next finance committee, to tell us about what jobs you want to keep and what pay raises you want to give out. And so this way you can explain who gets raises, who gets new jobs, and this way it goes, and more of that thing. So whatever ones you want to save on it. This is just is a financial measure in order for us to prepare for, unfortunately, the serious financial situation we're in today. It's just to make sure that we have appropriate checks and balances, and we don't over-hire, and then we're stuck with those additional hires come January and February when we don't have the money to pay for them. As you know, Mr. Mancini, administration is in conversations with, as you know, you have this balance going on. You have employees on work share right now. The administration just finished, I think, negotiations talking about not doing layoffs on one end and work share for employees on this end. And it's counterintuitive, at least financially, to then hire $4 million worth of new jobs and give out pay raises on the other end when the existing employees you're doing work share or potentially laying off. So it's just being financially, being continuity in the financial continuity of that we're trying to maintain our existing workforce. As you know, you guys are doing the best you can on one end, but it doesn't make sense that you would hire people on the other end if you're laying off or work sharing on your existing force. So it's just maintaining financial continuity. And you'll have an opportunity next as you know, as the months come on, administration will have opportunity to amend, change any ordinance and what they would like. One second, I think I have Councilman Taylor, then Councilwoman Anthony. Councilman Taylor?
I'm muted. I'm already unmuted. Hold on. The internal auditor, are we still paying for temporary employees? Do we have temporary employees still working and getting paid?
I would refer to the Finance Committee. I believe that's one of the questions that we have in one of the other agenda items for tonight's meeting. I prefer that they answer that question because there are different levels of temporary employees.
Okay, well, I'm gonna reiterate what the chairman says, that I don't understand if we are paying temporary employees. We've got people on furlough, some 1 day a week, every 2 weeks, some 2.5 per week. And then we're putting in for, I'll give an example, the Deputy Director of Public Works, which nobody's there. And that position is up to be, it's posted until the 23rd of this month. So it doesn't make sense to me why we're adding a position, not adding, but wanting to fill a position for $100,000 when we have people on work share and we have temporary employees that are being paid out there. I thought there was a hiring freeze in the city, but I understand if it's still in the my concern is the mayor rushes out and puts a bunch of people in positions before we get to vote on it, and then we're stuck because he filled the positions and we can't. We voted afterwards.
Mr. Chair, may I comment?
Internal order?
If you recall through the finance budget deliberations, there were a number of positions that were asked to be removed. Those were also removed from the ordinance. And I believe that was one of them.
Right, but I agree. But if you look on the website, there's 3 positions that are posted. Deputy Director of Public Works ends October 23rd. We got this new one, City Building Health Screener. I don't know what that is. I guess it's probably going to be covered by COVID, maybe. I don't know. And then we have a benefits manager that is November 2nd. Those are all non-union jobs. I understand union jobs have to be posted per the contract, but non-union jobs, there should be my opinion, should be no jobs posted until we straighten out what's going on with temporary employees being paid and people who are being furloughed. One hand, we're furloughing people. The other hand, we're hiring someone for $100,000. Doesn't make sense to me. And I agree. It was in there. It was on, I believe, I know I had it in there to be crossed out, that position not to be filled. But my concern is that the more time we delay on getting it out to the city council to vote on, the more time the mayor has to fill these positions. And then what happens?
I believe that
Madam
the
Internal Order, do you have an answer? What could happen?
if the ordinance doesn't have the position in there, the administration has to make a decision as to what they do with that employee. It was stated in committee, the intent of the positions. If you do not the ordinance, the position no longer exists.
Okay. Councilwoman Anthony?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to speak against these substitutions. I think we already have a city that is struggling to provide services for many reasons, COVID related. And so I think we have to be very strategic about where the cuts are made. And I feel that that decision rests with the department directors. So I think that, while we may not see the value of one of these positions that we're willing to cut right out of with the substitute, it may be a very valuable position. And I will just take the energy manager. that we have discussed. But what an invaluable position that's been. We had a gentleman that just retired. That's actually one of the cuts that is going to be made with this substitute. That gentleman in his position as energy manager saved the city millions of dollars in cost. And so here we are just going to cut that position right out so that they can't hire someone to replace the manager. So I am not at all supportive of this approach. I think this has to be done with the consulting on the departments. So the departments are all going to have to make significant cuts in their budgets. But I think in terms of the personnel, I don't think it's our position as city councilors to say, oh, that's not an important position, without hearing from the department heads as to why that position may be very important. The other thing I'd like to say is that, we have a work share program going on right now. We have an retirement incentive program that's going on. Are there unintended consequences to taking this kind of action? Maybe the administration may be trying to eliminate some higher paid positions moving forward. It just seems to me very foolish for us to go ahead and impose this without consulting with the department heads. And we may be, taking an action that has actually the adverse effect. It's actually going to hurt us in the future rather than help us. So I just don't understand why we're doing this. It just doesn't make any sense to handle it in this way. And I don't think we should be substituting our decisions for those of the directors.
I have a question.
Thank you, Councilman Anthony. Councilman Taylor?
I would just like to know, I believe it's the city council's job to be fiscal responsible. And I'm going to call out Councilwoman Anthony. We were here at the last finance meeting, and I don't know if you heard what I heard, because there's some people, council people and the administration. I don't think they think that we're in some serious trouble here in the city. We are in some serious financial trouble, and we're filling jobs like we're giving out candy. It is Halloween time, but we don't be giving out candy for all these jobs. We've got $34 million pension liability that we haven't paid. We heard last time that we haven't paid the $23 million that was owed for last year, and we're paying $600,000 every 90 or $5,000 every day for penalties. So we're giving out jobs, we're paying temporary people, and we're in some serious trouble. And I don't know what it takes for people to realize that. Chairman, I sit here and I listen every time when you bring up stuff, and I listen to what people are saying, and we're in trouble. So to just sit here and say, well, let's give that job out, let's give this job, let's hear what we're doing. They're on work share. We're going to hire a deputy director of public works for $100,000 a year to come in and do what? Everybody's on work share. There's nobody working. Everybody's home. They're either home or they're working remotely. So what is the director of public to do? We don't know. So we need to really look at this finances, and I don't know. I think some of us are in la la land that when we talk about stuff, because I wouldn't want you running my finances, because we're in some serious trouble in this city, and we need to take a look at it. And $4 million is a shot in the bucket, and that's why I put in to find out what assets we have, because we seriously have to start looking at either selling some stuff or doing something, because our pension is in trouble, the city's in trouble, and nobody's willing to look at it or to say that we're in trouble, and we're in trouble. Thank you.
May I have an opportunity to respond?
Yeah, Councilman Anthony, and then Vice Chair Ryan. Councilwoman Anthony.
Councilman Taylor, I certainly am not in la la land, so I resent that. I am a responsible member of this committee, and I too agree that we need to make some serious cuts. But I do not agree that we should be substituting our judgment for those that are running this departments that are providing essential services to this city. So I am agreeing that we need to make deep cuts. I am disagreeing in the way we go about it.
Thank you. Vice Chair Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to my colleagues who have offered their input tonight. I guess I'd like to just go back to your original comment when we started, your comments when we started. It is a prudent approach. We're looking at positions as the auditor had presented that are vacant. They have not been filled. Many have not been filled for some time. As a manager, I know when you have open positions and you're not filling them, the message that sends is that you're able to operate without those positions. So while I am sensitive to my colleagues' comments tonight, I think it would be imprudent for us not to look at those vacant positions. It's $4 million. We're in a very difficult financial position, as been addressed many times in this budget. I think that our job is an oversight. We do have an oversight role. I do think that it is prudent, however, we've identified these vacant positions. I would like to work with the administration and have them look at the positions that we're saying, hey, these are vacant, and then come back to the table and figure out what makes the most sense. I think everyone is on the same page here, and that we want the best for the city. We want the city operating as best it can, given the financial challenges that we find ourselves within. However, these are vacant positions, folks. Everybody is tightening their belt. Everyone is feeling the pain from COVID. And for us to bump along with the same staff, the same staffing component that was contemplated before COVID hit in March. These numbers, these positions were contemplated in January. Our entire operation in the city of Providence has changed. Our world has changed. And as an oversight body of this budget, it is prudent for us. This is low-hanging fruit. And quite frankly, I think it's incumbent upon the administration to justify open positions at this point. Any other manager would be doing the same thing. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for taking the initiative, as well as the auditor, to look at these open positions. And this is a beginning. This isn't an ending tonight. And I don't envision us actually debating over each position this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I think I said it earlier, that this is the beginning. This is a continuing financial process, and I was going to give the administration an opportunity next week to justify what jobs they want to keep. I mentioned it earlier, what pay raises they want to give out, and et cetera.
That's what I understood you to say, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for clarifying.
I said it earlier, so this was not a fait accompli. This was all about continuing our financial oversight. And I just want to say one other thing, that as much as I appreciate everybody's passion, as passionate as some council members are to remove a position, I hear the same passion of why a position should stay. So that's why dialogue and discussion and committee processes, that's what it's about. And I understand to some folks it's a little bit foreign. In this great republic called the city of Providence, the committee process is where all the work happens. So this is a process where we present, let's take a couple steps. Administration comes before the committee all the time with ideas. They just give it to us, they drop it, they discuss it, and they try to explain why we should do what they want, why they want more money, why they want a bond, why they're not. And we go back and forth, and the process happens. That's called checks and balances and co-equal branch of government. I agree with all my council colleagues, but at the end of the day, we're co-equal branches of government, that we are the only ones that fund this government. We're the only ones that can levy taxes for this government. So the people we represent have every right to know exactly why this administration, or any administration, why they want a position, what they want the position to do, and why they want to give that money for that position. So the administration will have every opportunity to do that. And like I said, they'll have the opportunity next week. The point is that it's a constant discussion. And it's very important that the public understands that we are taking the city's finances serious, that we understand that we have serious financial problems, and I think Vice Chair was spot on. This budget was submitted as pre-COVID. This was when everything was rolling along. The financial picture was extremely rosy pre-COVID. You know, the ability for the city to add $4 million worth of new jobs was a more real possibility then pre-COVID than post-COVID. It's like anything else. I'm sure there were people pre-COVID who were thinking about buying a new car or buying a new wardrobe pre-COVID or going on a vacation. Post-COVID, people now have changed their spending habits and their finances have dramatically changed. So just like for the average person that I represent in my neighborhood, that their finances have changed pre versus post, the city's financial situation has changed pre and post. And we cannot operate, we're all in brand new territory. We cannot operate in pre-COVID conditions. We have to continue the financial review and scrutiny. We have to continue to see turn over every stone, look at every penny, look in the sofa cushions. We need to do everything we can to make sure we lessen the financial blow come January and February. And more importantly, I add to my council colleagues, and I've said to you before, this budget here isn't just about this budget. This COVID situation is going to impact the next 3 to 4 budgets in this city. There's not going to be a miracle that's just going to turn the revenue spigot on, that all of a sudden all the restaurants, all the hotels, all the tourism, all the schools are just going to magically open up. It's not. We have a long road. So it's financially prudent to always prepare for that. And this is what this is about. I hope all my council colleagues, on the committee in particular, maintain an open mind in this process. It's the beginning, and I appreciate it because I spoke to Mr. Mancini earlier, and he mentioned those similar arguments. And he'll have an opportunity to further flesh out the administration's position on these positions and on these proposed cuts next week. No one is shutting the door. And I think it's important because maybe he uses this word. We are being full disclosure, giving full opportunity, and full discussion for all. At the end of the day, it's really not the administration or the managers or the mayor who's going to make the final decision on this budget. It really isn't. It's the council's going to make the final decision. You're the only folks in this government that actually vote. You know that? The mayor is an opinion and a request on how to run government. So is their managers. But you folks actually have to vote on the record in a public forum, and you have to raise the revenue. Everybody has to. I always emphasize the important role the city council has. And for decades that I've been on the council, this is the first administration. Every administration I've dealt with always wants to devalue it or deminimize the council's role. It's amazing. The council shouldn't look at this. The council shouldn't review this. It shouldn't do checks and balances. They shouldn't question this manager here. And by the way, some council colleagues subscribe to that. I choose not to. Our role is defined in this great Constitution. Our role is defined in this great republic. We have a co-equal branch of government. We have an obligation for checks and balances. And I ask all my colleagues to embrace that. And I also ask the folks that aren't too sure, maintain an open mind. Let's continue the dialogue, because at the end of the day, all of us have to take extremely difficult votes in the future. So my goal here is to make you as full disclosure, make you informed as possible. At the end of the day, if you vote no or vote yes, as long as we can say you were fully informed. And the administration will have an opportunity, just like we always give them that opportunity. So I want to make sure the committee understands that. It's imperative that you understand that. Councilman Taylor, you have a question?
Just like actually, no, I just wanted to piggyback. I was going to actually kind of say what you said, not as eloquently, but I feel that we go through plenty of deliberations in this finance committee this year and last year. It's my second year. And I feel a lot of times that the administration doesn't respect us because I know I can count, I believe, every meeting that we've had and kudos to you, Chairman, you've said that there should be no hiring, there should be no hiring, there should be no hiring. And then when you go on the website and see that we're advertising for jobs, it's almost like nobody's listening. And I agree, we do have a vote, and that is our responsibility as council, especially in this finance committee, to look at the finances and say, you know what, this isn't right. And I feel disrespected by the administration day after day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Almonte, do you have an opinion on this process, sir? Since, I mean, you come from the State House, you're the Auditor General. Can you weigh on the process and how we're going about this? Can you give us a little insight?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I do agree with your comments. It is a multiple step process going through. Normally your budget would already be passed by now, but since these are uncertain times, it does require different kind of way to address the budget process. And we already did the tax levy. That made tremendous sense. And this next step, it puts in checks and balances to make sure that we don't ever spend, because we still don't have a clear picture on what the total revenue is. And I do agree with you. There's a mechanism in place for the administration to come back and actually make a claim to fill a certain position. But at the end of the day, it is the council's role to pass the budget and the council's role to determine what the finances are. So I agree with those comments, and I agree with what is proposed tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Almonte. Committee members, do you have any other questions? The goal now will be for the administration to review this, digest it, and have our internal audit treasurer have conversations with them, and then they can come back. And also my council colleagues, you look at it. As you know, you've all had the budget articles since June, actually earlier than June. So I presume you all looked at these budget articles. You've seen the proposed jobs and stuff the mayor was looking for to begin with. If you remember, we talked about at the very beginning. I said, we're talking about proposed cuts, and I kept on saying there's millions of dollars worth of new jobs and stuff. So this hopefully just continue to bring focus on that aspect. I'd ask you to look at it, review it, talk to the internal auditor, the treasurer, Mr. Mancini, of course, and then you guys can advocate for what you'd like to keep, not keep, who you want to give a pay raise, who you don't want to give a pay raise. At the end of the day, it's important that you have full disclosure, you make your fully informed decision. It's your fiduciary responsibility. If there's a position you feel so passionate about that you want to keep, then explain it to the folks, and then if it's convincing, we'll add it or subtract it. And that's what we're looking for, not only the administration, but my council colleagues. So I think this will help you bring everything in focus, and it helps you with the budget process. I know a lot of folks are freshmen, and they don't necessarily know how to look at the budget or review the budget. So this is going to help bring it a little more in focus for all of you. So I ask you to look at it, and I'm available. I'm available to speak about it in detail with my council colleagues anytime. I always offer that to them. We don't always have to agree, but we should always agree to have conversations and see if we can always work out our differences and try to achieve a positive goal for the people of Providence. That's the bottom line. That's the end goal. Okay? So I want to make sure I extend that to all my council colleagues as well as my committee members, so they know that. Turner, do you want anything else to add to this at this time? And then we'll move on to the next items, and then the administration, everybody can then digest it for the next week or so, and then we can go from there.
Nope, I think everything has been said.
All right. So with that, then let's go on to the next item. Item number, and 1 second, so a motion to continue item 2A and 3A. Is that right, Madam Clerk, to the next finance meeting? Have a motion for that?
Second.
By Vice Chair, second by Councilwoman Castillo. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Madam Clerk, what is it, item number 4? Item number 4, Madam Clerk?
Resolution authorizing approval of the following contract award by the Board of Contracts and Supply in accordance with section 2126A of the Code of Ordinances. Downham Construction Company, $4,551,270.
Thank you. Do we, who do we have concerning this one on this $4.5 million contract? Internal order, Mr. Mancini, who's on this one?
Hi, Chairman. It's me, Jordan Day.
Oh, hello, Ms. Day, how are you? Madam Clerk, could you please
Doing well,
swear
and
in
you?
Ms. Day?
Please raise your right hand, you swear to tell me in person that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
State your name for the record, please.
Jordan Day, Senior Deputy Chief Operating Officer for the City of Providence.
Good evening, Ms. Day. Can you tell us what this is about, and can you explain a little bit about it, please?
Yes, of course. So, Chairman and members of the committee, what you have before you is a contract to be approved or seeking your approval for our new owners program manager for the school capital projects. As some of you may know, in 2018, Rhode Island general law was amended requiring an owner's rep or OPM, which is our owner's program manager, for all projects not to exceed, I believe, $1 million. As we embark on our $300 million capital plan, we went out to bid earlier this year in order to be able to award a contract to an OPM. We received 5 bids, and this vendor had the highest qualitative score amongst the scoring committee, which was three people involved in the selection process. Overall, they received the highest total score. Just a little bit more, we factored in quality of response, the approach and proposed OPM team in the rubric. The selected bidder received the highest qualitative score from the team. The 2 lowest bidders had teams of 1 to 2 people, and based off of our prior experience, a larger team was preferred. This team consists of over 10 unique members for both pre, during, and post-construction. Downs accounted for cost estimating, design review, and multiple clerks of the works in order to be able to support our large-scale investments. Downs is also oriented towards the city's goals regarding MBE and WBE procurement. One of the things I'd like to highlight, and it's something that they highlighted in their bid package, is that they have a partnership in Connecticut that they'd like to bring and help us mirror here. As you know, this is a priority for the city. I know it's a priority for the council as well as the administration to increase our participation. They have a partnership in Connecticut with the Minority Construction Council, where they run a program that helps MBEs and WBEs do skill building and capacity building. This is something that if they were to help support the city do that, it would benefit the city. They also have begun recommending measures begin recommending measures to further support the city's goals for furthering participation through RFP drafting, contract requirements, etc. As a company, they have over 85 years of experience in the construction industry, and they're currently working in Newport on the school capital plan. The contract that we would be awarding, should the council approve, would be a 3-year contract for $4,551,270 with 2 option years outlined in their bid response. Understanding that we would have to seek the finance committee's approval for those 2 option years should they arise.
So, Ms. Day, you said there was a 3-panel committee, the technical review committee. Can you tell me who was on it and what their qualifications were?
So it was myself as the Senior Deputy Chief Operating Officer who oversees all of our capital plans for the city. Former Manager of Facilities and Operations, Al Bucco, and Alexander Burdick, our Purchasing Strategy Manager.
Right. So when it comes to the actual technical, what were the criteria? So did you have a price criteria too? So was it just based on technical scores, not price at all?
So for the lowest bidder, they were awarded 30 points for having lowest price. And then we had a qualitative portion. And so pricing was, points were awarded based off of price. So the lowest bidder received 30 points. The second lowest bidder received 19 based off of the formula and the calculation that was provided through one of our addendums.
So did you guys look at do the technical scores first, score them with the technical, and then receive the price scores, or do you do it all at the same time?
We did a cost analysis, and that was done by Alex, and then myself, Al, and Alex did the qualitative scoring. Cost was factored in after.
Okay, so you didn't do a separate process. The way the state does it, the technical committee meets, they do a technical score, they score it out. Then after that's completed, then the cost values come in, and then it's done accordingly. So this way, cost doesn't sway, it's based on tech, and then cost then does the appropriate weighting at the end. So my question is, folks, there were 5 things. So what was the total amount of points they could receive, technical and the value?
So out of a possible 100 points, the down construction.
How does it separate? Is it like 50, 50 for
70
technical,
for
50?
quality?
Okay.
It's 70 for qualitative and 30 for cost.
And can you tell me, can you run down, tell me, do you have the breakdown of this
Yep,
bid award?
I have it in front of me.
So tell me, Downs Construction Company, what did they get for, what was their tech score and what was their value score?
They received 70 out of 70 possible points on average from all 3 scorers for their qualitative score and 12 points for their cost.
So you got 70 out of 70. Oh, okay. And what about Colliers International?
Colliers International received a score of 66.67 qualitatively, and then for cost received 13 points.
Okay. How about STV Inc.?
STV received 48.33 points for qualitative score on average, with 19 points awarded for pricing.
What was the qualitative you said?
48.33.
Okay. And then how about Peregrine? Am I saying it right?
They received 50 points for qualitative score, and as the low bidder were awarded 30 points.
Okay. And what about Jacobs?
Jacobs received 66.7 qualitative points and 12 cost points.
And so Down Construction, they received 12 for their value, you said?
Yeah, so
they got 70
in order,
and 12?
They received 82 points total. Peregrine received 80. Colliers received 79.67, which would have, if we round up, goes to 80. 78.67 for Jacobs, which would have rounded up to 79, and 67.33 for STV.
Okay. Just.
And there's an important.
Down company received 12?
Yes, because they had the highest. They had the highest price.
But Jacobs received 12 at 3.7.
They were just at the exact same, or very there were a few dollar price difference. It was very minor.
Well, Down says it's 4.5 mil. Jacobs is 3.7. That's a lot more than just a few dollars, right?
I would have to confirm the calculation for the formula, but I don't have it in front of me. Give me 1 second.
Okay. And then Collier was 3.3, so that's about a little more than $1 million, 1.2 mil. And they got 13. All right.
Just 1 second. I'm sorry. So
my point is
Peregrine.
Down should have received the least amount of points for value. Peregrine should have received the second. And so,
Sir, I understand your point. I'm looking at the cost estimation here, and it looks like the value was based upon the 3 years plus the 2 option years, not just the initial 3 years. So I apologize for that.
okay. It just seems a pretty high cost for an owner's rep.
So it is. I would say that I would
Pretty
acknowledge that the cost is definitely high. I would say it is obviously the highest that we saw. What I would add to that is that cost is baked into project costs already. So that is already accounted for in our overall plan. The second piece of this is that the 2 lowest bidders provided teams that were only 1 to 2 people, at most did not exceed 3. And our plan cannot support that level of oversight. It needs more people at the table. And so we're definitely at a need for a larger
I recognize
team.
your rationale. But I'm just saying, another $1 million towards school construction is another $1 million for school construction. You know, there could be like, 2 or 3 more playgrounds, could be a new roof on one of the schools. My point is, the issue for me is I want to get as many dollars to the actual construction of the school versus, so what happens is that's the balance, right? The bottom line is we're trying to get as much, because the school's in such deplorable conditions. And then 4.5 mil, and what's the total award of the contract?
For the school program? Or
are they going to be the owners?
Contract?
They're going to be owners rep for which value?
So it was originally the 278 million. So this is just about 2% of the total cost.
So they're going to be the owners. There's 278 mil isn't there yet, right?
No. So we have the initial 160.
What's the present monies available for school construction presently right now?
Without November ballot approval on the 160 million.
Right, November ballot, so it's like this, it's kind of like that whole IOU thing, right? Where we're counting our chickens before they hatch, right? Right now, how much money do we have for school construction? We have
160 million.
Right, that's what we have, Now, if we get another bond, right? So what you're saying is you want to have this group here handle both initiatives. Now, the question is, my question is, since they're 2 separate bond initiatives, should we pigeonhole ourselves in that? My point is, if you want to give this to them, the first 150, and then it works out, you can expand. But what if they don't work out? Now we're committed. They're committed. They got awarded the entire amount. It's not, my point is that in building construction, it's very technical, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of things going on, right? So, and I'm just wondering, is that what you may do is when you do baby steps. Has the city ever worked with down construction before?
Yeah, so in consultation and discussion with the auditor, because we're under requirement by Rhode Island general law to have an OPM in place.
I know that, but has the city ever, I understand the law. Let me give you the question again. Has the city ever worked, it's a yes or no, has the city ever worked with Down Construction Company? That's the question.
Yes, we currently have a contract with Down's Construction Company.
For what project?
For a 60-day contract for school OPM services.
Okay. And so they've been handling it, the present contract for school services?
Yes, they began sometime in September. The exact date escapes me.
Okay. So, and how much are we paying them for that?
About $250,000 for 2 months.
2 months, okay. So, they're used for, what exactly are they doing for the school right now? What are they doing exactly?
Yeah, So we have 11 projects that are currently in the pipeline. There's an owner's rep that's required to be on board in order to be able to inspect the work that's being done. So currently they have staff that are doing cost estimating, budget development, and a series of other tasks in order to ensure that we're successfully executing our capital plan and in the timely fashion. So as an example, one of the tasks that they've completed and are preparing now is an overall schedule to ensure that we're on track to spend our $60 million in PAYGO funding by December of 2021. With that in mind, they've also been trying to target in and hone in on the 11 projects that are currently in the pipeline. So we have 6 roof projects that are currently taking place and are expected to be completed this winter. And then we have 5 long-term projects that are in the pipeline that are currently in design, and they're helping us determine next steps as far as architectural and engineering services, construction management services, any future procurements, how we would batch those things, developing an RFP for educational planner. And these are all things that if we did not have them, I would be responsible for.
And so we've only utilized it for the past, since September, you said?
It's been about a month. Yes.
So we really don't know what, right? Has the city used any of these other owners reps in the past?
We used Coast and Harbor previously.
Okay. And how did that go?
Their contract they did not bid on the school contract, so we were not able to award to them. And their contract for Cityside Capital Project expired in June.
Okay. So is this a September contract? So they're going to be awarded 2 contracts, or is this going to envelope the September contract?
So the Board of Contract and Supply approved the 60-day contract, so that matter has been handled separately. And then this contract would approve them from whatever date the approval is forward.
So how long was this contract put out to bid? How many months was there?
I believe it was 2 months.
So, okay. Okay.
Chairman, I know that my time with them has been short, but I will say that they are very, very on top of the work that they're doing. And I would say that as a working relationship that I've developed with them in the last month, it has been really productive and beneficial to the city through having conversations to identify cost savings, to ensure that we're actually putting money in our schools rather than putting it in temporary swing spaces. So they have their eye on making sure that as many dollars as possible get into the school. One of the things that I had asked initially is we've received some feedback from RIDE regarding fee structures, ensuring that our fee structure is in compliance with Rhode Island general law. They've done an initial review of all of that. So we've been very lucky that in the last month they've already taken on so much review in order to ensure that we're spending our dollars wisely. I know that the council obviously takes those investments very seriously, as does the administration, and I don't want to frivolously spend money and advocate for doing so. But I think that this team that they've pulled together through cost estimation, inspections, et cetera, would absolutely save more money for the city down the line. And I think that they would be the right team to support us for the next 3 years.
So let me follow up with this. In this award letter, it says the funds in the amount of $6,403,580 are available in the account. But then it says it says PBA 160 general obligation fund, but it's not borrowed at this time. So the money is not available at this time, right?
That total is an error. So it should say the 4,551,000 number. That's the figure that should be in that bottom paragraph. So that's an error. I apologize for that.
And is the money available at this time, Ms. Day?
So there are funds available through our 2019 bond. We accounted for OPM services there. So that should be listed as a funding source, and then the $160 million would be a future funding source.
All right, so then the funding, so what was approved by everybody here, city government, you approved the wrong value and the wrong funding source, right? So you guys have to amend this document.
I can provide an amended letter, sir.
All right, so why don't we do this, so let's continue this item so you can amend it correctly, so if the document is actually correct, because this is an official document and has all the wrong funding sources. Also, I'd like to understand that if we're using money from a previous bond, what bond was that?
That was the bond that was issued in 2019, the $20 million. It's accounted for in the project cost. And we have an OPM line there.
And that $20 million was that for schools, or was that for?
Correct. School
Right,
project.
that was, or was that for all different projects in the city?
The $20 million was for school projects. The $10 million is for city projects.
Okay, and so then, did we already hire an owner's rep in that bond money for those projects?
The Providence Public Building Authority opted to hire a staff member named Bill Marchetti to serve in that capacity on behalf of the PPVA.
But then that money then should be, so then therefore that money can't be used for this bond initiative. You need to use this bond money for this. You need to get this bond money to use this, because what you're doing is you're misappropriating the funds, because what you're saying is you're using previous bond money, let me finish, previous bond money that was to be utilized to hire owner's rep for that bond initiative. The point is that that money now should be put back into the schools to be utilized. Are they still using an individual in that?
Sir, with all due respect, I'm not misappropriating funds. Mr. Marchetti is going to be paid out of the 2020 bond.
No, I know, but these folks here shouldn't be paid out of the 2020 bond. They should be paid out of the
They're not being paid out of the 2020 $115 million bond. They are helping their initial phase-in with funded projects that are approved in the 2019 MOA falls under the 2019 A bond series.
Right, but you want to use the money to pay them from the $20 million bond. That's what you just stated. You stated for the record, which is a different bond.
Correct, which goes to schools.
Those are two different funding sources, and they identify for two different purposes. So my point is that $20 million bond there has an owner's rep funding, right? And it says you can hire an owner's rep. You just stated for the record it did. That's why you were going to be able to take that money from the $20 million to bring it here.
So,
you said that. Wait a second. You stated that the $20 million bond had an owner's rep value in it, and then you're going to use that money to pay for these folks for this upcoming bond initiative on the November ballot. That's what you said. Are you saying that's not the case?
Sir, I'm happy to have this matter continued, and I will discuss this at another time.
Okay. So why don't we get that all cleared up? I'd ask you to work with the internal auditor, get the documents cleared up, make sure the appropriate funding sources, make sure this funds to pay these folks are for a bond that hasn't been passed yet, because therefore we don't want to pay them anything until that bond does get passed. It's fundamentally unfair that we should be paying them for something that doesn't exist yet. So, motion to continue this item.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
before that motion, could I ask that the funding sheets be made available, the scoring sheets be made available to our auditor for review? You made a valid point. There's a significant difference between the other responders in dollar amount, and I just want to make sure that we are scrutinizing the dollar amount. All right? I would make a motion as requested.
Continued. Is there a second?
Continue. Yes, thank you.
A motion, motion by Vice Chair, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Castillo. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Madam Clerk, item number 5, please.
Resolution authorizing approval of the following contract award by the Board of Contractors and Supply in accordance with Section 2126B of the Code of Ordinances.
Okay, thank you. Who's on this one?
Mr. Chairman, it's Stephanie Fortunato.
Great, thank you. So why don't we swear Mrs. Fortunato in?
Am I allowed to speak to you? Want me to swear her in?
I'm sorry? Okay. So, Madam Clerk, swear the individuals in and we'll have
State your
testimony.
ID, you swear to penalty and perjury that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
She needs to unmute herself.
Is it Miss Masswood? She needs to unmute herself? She muted? Yeah, she's, gotta
And-
unmute yourself.
I was
She's in?
planning on speaking unless strictly
No
necessary.
problem. No problem. Just, all right, so Ms. Fortunato, why don't you first tell us, can you first tell us where this money is from?
Yes.
And what is it for?
We are seeking, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thanks so much for having us this evening. I will say that Director Leah Bamberger is on this line as well, and she's our partner in this project. So is it possible to have her sworn in as well?
I have to promote her, I know she.
I don't, is this, I don't, who does she work for?
She's the Director of the Office of Sustainability.
Oh,
She's right there, I just promoted her to panelist.
oh, okay. All right. It's fine. She's there, right there. We see her. All right, so who's gonna speak? You gonna speak or she going to speak?
I will start.
Can see it.
So we are seeking approval.
You can
to-
tell about why you want it, and then she can talk about why this helps sustaining the city. How's that? Go ahead.
Sounds great. So we are seeking approval to enter into a contract with artist Fatima Masswood to serve as a public art resident in the Office of Sustainability. We began the work of engaging Ms. Masswood in the spring. This was a call that we issued last winter, and we did the artist selection panel in March. The award was approved by the Art and City Life Commission in April. We had put this project on hold given the pandemic, and have been working over the past 6 months to modify the engagement to meet the criteria of the public art goals for the project, as well as taking into consideration the city's financial position. This contract, we are seeking this to honor our commitment with Ms. Masswood, who is a working artist in Providence. She is a landscape architect, interdisciplinary artist, among other things, educator, community engagement specialist, and to honor the commitment and partnership that we have with the Office of Sustainability. This work is part of the Office of Sustainability's efforts to implement the Climate Justice Plan and aligns with the Barr Foundation grant that the Sustainability Office has received. This is part of the match towards that. Ms. Masswood will be working on a project, an artist strategy to create a tool to engage community members in the strategies of the Climate Justice Plan. This is a critical piece of addressing racial justice and environmental justice. And the work will be focused in on building community resilience, community engagement. It brings artistic practice and the skills of creative problem solving skills to a complex social issue, which is one of the main tenets of the Department of Art, Culture, Tourism's mission to integrate artists into civic life. And so we are seeking permission for a contract which would span 9 months and would allow Ms. Masswood to immerse herself with the Office of Sustainability, to do research, community engagement, and then develop that arts-based tool.
So, Ms. Fontana, this is to give a job, right? This is to do like a residency type of thing, right? Is that what this is?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it's a job, okay. It's to give a, I get it, all right, it's a residency. Ms. Bamberger? Did you want to weigh in?
Sure, yeah, we are really excited about this opportunity to really bring the Climate Justice Plan to life, especially in the community of Washington Park.
and South Providence. There's been a lot of great engagement that has happened over the past 6 months. Despite the pandemic, we've been working closely, albeit virtually, with our community partners there. And this work, I think the timing, it's actually a really, I think, important timing. This is a community that has been hit hard by COVID and by, health and environmental crises. And this is an opportunity to really build capacity and address some of these underlying stressors on this community in particular.
Thank you. Internal auditor?
Hi, Leah, this may be directed toward you. What is the amount of the grant? If the $15,000 is the match, what's the percentage of the match and what's the total grant?
The grant is a three-year grant from the Bar Foundation. I believe it is the total amount over the course of 3 years is $375,000, and this was one component of a match that we submitted in our proposal. There were other components as well, but the artist in residency with the Office of Sustainability was a piece of a larger proposal that help demonstrate our commitment to implementing the climate justice plan.
May I continue, Mr. Chair?
Internal auditor, go ahead, continue.
Oh, so for clarification, the only funds that will be issued to her is the $15,000, but we're using this to match your grant.
So
Is that right?
the Department of Art, Culture, and Tourism will be putting in $15,000 if we are approved from contract services line, and the bar grant will be used to cover the materials cost up to $5,000.
I thought it was Ms. Bimmer, I think you said it was a $370,000 grant. Didn't you say that?
Yes, the entirety of the Bar Foundation grant,
So
5,000 of which will go to this project.
Are we going to get the 300, with the 15,000, are we going to get $370,000? Is that what you're saying? I can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry. We are
Can you explain
in
that?
year 2. We just received the second installment of the grant, so we've already received over half of that.
We received $150,000 already?
At least that, yes.
Okay, and we're receiving like another 100 some odd thousand for this? Oh, this is great. So for 15,000, we're gonna get a total of $375,000? Is that right?
Yes. There's a lot of different components to why we are receiving this funding, but the match is a component of it, and it shows the city's commitment to investing in this work, which the funder values.
No, I know, I get that. What are the other matching components you said? So it's the 15,000. What else does the city have to do?
It's other investments that the city is making in this work, such as salary that we pay to my office. I think that's the probably largest sort of clear financial commitment that is made.
How much is that?
My salary?
Oh, so it's your salary, this 15, and then so with your salary and that's the matching portion of this grant?
We included my time on this work and the salary that goes along with that as part of the match, yes.
Anything else that we have to add for the matching portion?
I don't have that in front of me, but I would be happy to share that with you at some point.
Yeah, can you provide it to the internal auditor for tomorrow? Also, so do we get reimbursement from the grant to pay for your salary too? That sounds like a great benefit. Is that what's happening?
No, it's not. It's as a match. It's demonstrate as our commitment to supporting the work, not as something that the grant covers.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Can I ask another question?
Sure, of course. You can ask. Go ahead.
It is only time that you've spent on this project, correct? It's not 100% of your salary, unless this is your only project, then I could understand that.
Right. So no, my salary isn't covered by the grant, but the contribution of my time towards the work related to this is considered match.
Thank you.
Okay. I just forward the information to the internal auditor.
Happy to.
So, and Ms. Maswood, so you get to go do a residency. That sounds exciting. Sounds exciting. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic. That sounds exciting. Great. All right, any other comments or questions? Not gonna have a motion to recommend approval and move
Motion to
forward.
recommend approval.
Second.
Vice Chair, second by Councilman Castillo. Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, ladies, and good luck, Ms. Masswood. Keep up the good
Thank you
work.
so
That sounds
much.
exciting.
Thank you.
We look forward to hearing, hopefully, all the good things you do. Next item, and I apologize, let's do a motion to continue item number 7, so, because I know number 6 is gonna be a little more detailed.
So
Do you have a
moved.
motion
Second.
this time? By Vice Chair, second by Councilman Castillo. Discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Item number 6, Madam Clerk.
Discussion relative to the current real estate status, 2019, 2020, and 2021 budgets included but not limited to revenue and expenditures. Lawrence J. Mancini, Chief Financial Officer, Sarah Silvera, Director of the Finance Department.
Great, all right, and Mr. Mancini and Ms. Silvera, are you available? I know Mr. Mancini's been sworn in, Ms. Silvera, I think has to get sworn in, Ms. Lindberg, right? Madam Clerk, can you swear them in, please?
Please raise your right hand and declare to testimony and perjury that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
I do.
Please state your name for the record and where you're from, please.
Sarah Silveria, Finance Director.
And Ms. Lindberg also?
She's on.
Madam Clerk?
I do.
can you swear her in?
Oh.
Oh, great. All right, thank you.
I'm good.
Thanks. Mr. Mancini, it looks like we have a 3-page document, correct? I think,
That is correct.
Have the committee members received this 3-page document, Mr. Mancini, from Mr. Mancini? Madam Clerk?
Yes. It was
Okay.
provided to the
So
clerk
can we-
today.
So can we enter this into the record at least? Madam,
Is an exhibit.
exhibit, is it on the portal or wherever you post it?
He put it on Confluence, he said.
He said he put it on Confluence, am I saying it right?
Okay.
Take a look, all right? It's a 3-page document dated October 13, 2020. It's to the internal order for Mr. Mancini. It's a multi-page document. I'm going to enter into the record as Exhibit, Madam Clerk? Exhibit A, for item number 7.
So moved.
Do you have a motion? Motion by
So
Vice
moved.
Chair? I'm assuming, the number 6. Vice Chair makes that motion, second by
Second.
Councilman Castillo. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mancini, you want to take us through your report here, sir?
I will. So, Mr. Chairman, this report was actually prepared in its almost in its entirety by Ms. Silveria and Ms. Lindberg, and I assisted with. And it was in fact submitted by the finance director. It was in fact submitted by the finance director. I would be happy to turn this discussion to her, but if I may, Mr. Chairman, this was provided to us last Thursday by the internal auditor. There was a series of questions, I believe, totaling 15 questions, and with your guidance, you continued last Thursday's meeting till this evening, and this information was, for the most part, ready last Thursday. We're happy to share that with you this evening. It was given to the internal auditor as a submitted document in response to her questions. So I don't know if you want Ms. Silveria to lead this discussion and read it into the record. It's available for that. Or if you have the internal auditor.
Why don't we have the finance director do it, and then we have the internal auditor. All right, we don't hear enough from the finance director. Finance director?
Hi.
Want to take us through this?
Sure. Does everyone has a copy of the document before I get started? Okay.
You might as well get used to it, right?
So this was prepared by me and my deputy finance director in response to a series of questions given to us by the internal auditor.
Great.
So I will take you through the document. The first question had to do with cash. Our current cash balance is $46,055,953. This includes all debt service payments due to date, with one remaining payment of $150,776 due on October 31st. The October school appropriation will be paid by the end of the month. There are 2 payrolls remaining for the month of October, totaling about $12.2 million. And we expect departmental expenses to be around $1 million and medical drawdowns of $5.5 million through the month of October.
Ms. Rivera, very quick, when you say cash balance is $46 million, are you saying that some of that money is dedicated for these expenses, or are you saying it's $46 million minus these additional expenses?
It would be minus those additional expenses. So that's the cash, the book balance as of today.
So right now, there's $46 million in the account, and then eventually you will pay these balances, you said, or the $10 million, or they've been paid?
They have not been paid yet, but they will be paid over the course of the rest of October.
So the $46 million so for the sake of the conversation, by the end of October, in theory, the $46 million will be minus the 10.8, I guess the 12.2, and all these different expenses, right?
Right.
And the cash balance will be a little bit lower, but then hopefully additional revenues will bring it back up. Is that right?
Correct. We've got second quarter tax collections due at the end of this month, so we do estimate there'll be another $67 million deposited over the cost of
that cash flow number ebb and flows, correct? It ebb and flows?
It does. It does, yep.
And so let me ask you this question. Compared to last fiscal year, do you do a month-to-month comparison? Have you been able to do that so we get a sense of the ebb and flow of a good year, which last year was pretty good financially, right? Last fiscal year. In theory, let's do the year before maybe, big conversation. Can you do a month-to-month cash flow, ebb and flow analysis for us? So we can see what we can compare it to, all right? So,
yes,
all right,
and we do submit a monthly cash flow, but I'd be happy to, and that's actually due in a couple of days, so you'll have a new cash flow on Thursday.
I'm sorry. So continue. So can you go to revenues and expenses, please?
Sure. Projected revenue sources for October include the second quarter tax collection, August hotel and meal and beverage tax, municipal court collections, and other various departmental revenues. The second quarter tax collections are expected to generate $67 million. The meal and beverage tax is expected to approach $350,000, and the hotel tax projected to be about $50,000. And we expect a RIBAC payment of $2.5 million in October.
Now, I recognize the tax collection, $67 million. That's a pretty good figure because we know how it's our tax revenue. But when it comes to meal and beverage, where were we, let's say this time last year, were we at the 350,000 or were we higher?
No, we were around 550,000 is more normal on meals and beverage.
And don't know about the hotel, which is $50,000. What were we at that time?
We would normally see in a normal year around 200,000.
That's down really low. Now, can you explain you said RIBAC payment? What does that stand for, and what's the payment for?
Rhode Island Health and Education Building Corp. So they send us reimbursements for our debt service related to schools.
Okay, great. All right. So then you got the boxes here, right? Revenue sources. Can you take us through that, please?
Sure. So year to date, taxes, we've collected 35.3% of our proposed budgeted tax revenue, 14% of our inspections and standard revenue, 28% of the recorder of deeds revenue. Parking, there's a lag there that we're only at about 9%. Red light camera, we're at about 18%. School zone is really not much, not even 3%. Meals and beverage tax, we're at 6%, but I would just like to note that meals and beverage and room tax are paid 2 months later, so we've only received July's payment so far, and that's normal. That happens every year. It's always a 2-month delay. And then other various departmental revenues, we've received 9.7%.
So can you add for the next one? I want to like to have these types of Q&As as a continuing rolling conversation of every finance committee meeting. Can you give us a sense of, like, for example, just like I mentioned with the other ones, just put like what were we getting on a normal year at this time? Okay, so we get a sense of what's happening. You know, all right? If you could do that, like another column. You know what I mean? All right? Especially when we talk about the room. I mean, all these issues here. And are the school zone speed cameras actually on? I thought they're not. Are they on?
They are not on, but I'm not sure if Jordan is on, but I believe we are posting the 30-day trial notice that it will be ending. So they're not on yet, or if they are on, they're just recently been turned on. So they were not on all summer.
Mr. Chair, may I comment on that?
Okay. So I guess take it the next page, I guess. Year-to-date expenditures.
Sure. So year-to-date expenses, I have a few different sections here where I compare the first quarter to the first quarter budgeted in the proposed budget. The first quarter for fiscal 21 versus the 2020 approved budget, and the fiscal 21st quarter compared to the fiscal 20 budget. So to date, we've spent 22.6 of our proposed budgeted salary, and 23% of if you're comparing salaries versus the 2020 budget. Benefits, we've paid 20.9% compared to 21.7% if you were looking at compared to last year's budget. And supplies and services, we are at 22.2% of our budget, and if we were comparing it to the 2020 budget, we would be at 14.1%.
So just so I'm reading this correctly, so when you look at the FY20 approved budget, at that time you're saying we spent roughly 30 for salaries, 30,519,315, but presently at this time we spent 28,724,078. Is that correct?
I think I need to make a correction on this. So when I put this together for salaries, benefits, and supplies and services, I took out pension and medical because those are pretty discrete budgeted things based on the ADC or based on what the actuaries tell us for medical. And it looks like I didn't back that out of the 2020 approved budget. So I will have to correct this and send an updated version of this letter.
Okay. So you're going to make that adjustment, you said?
I'll make that adjustment, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. You can continue.
Okay, the ADC, yep, the city owes $23.9 million on the fiscal 20 ADC as of October 8th, 2020. Due to early payments made by the general fund during the fiscal year, we have earned some credit. So we earned $2.3 million in interest credits for early payment. We had budgeted $800,000 as a savings in the fiscal year 20 budget, leaving us with a net of $1.5 million in interest credits as of June 30th. Since June 30th, we have accrued $575,000 in interest costs, leaving available credit of $928,961, and the daily interest rate of the interest cost is $4,600 per day. And each time we make that $2.8 million deposited, when we receive the state pilot money, that $4,600 gets reduced, the daily rate. For fiscal year 21, the ADC is $90,483,926, and payments made to date are as follows. The city made a $10 million deposit, school $1,246,392, water supply board $1,383,461, workforce solutions $75,679. So to date, we've made a $12.7 million deposit against our 21 ADC. And that $10 million deposit made by the general fund in August of 2020 generated us an interest credit of $660,000. And then an update on WorkShare and Workforce. The number of employees participating in WorkShare, we have 681 active 1033 employees. Of that, 335 are participating in WorkShare. We have 390 non-union, non-bargaining, of which 182 are participating in WorkShare, and police and fire unions are not participating in WorkShare. And fiscal year to date, we've realized a $1.4 million savings due to the participation in WorkShare. We have 10 temporary fellows and interns on the payroll. There are 2 in DPW. There's 1 in Parks Department, 1 in the mayor's office, 3 in archives, and 3 in the Office of Economic Opportunity. Over the last 6 months, there have been 34 retirements or separations from city service, and they're outlined for you here. 17 1033 members left from retirement or separation, 10 non-union, non-bargaining, 3 police union, and 4 fire union. During that time period, there were 5 new hires. We hired a deputy director of PEMA, a control center operator, a chief innovation officer, a clerk liaison, and a landscape gardener.
Madam Director, so you said the city's offering a retirement incentive to local 1033 employees. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So where is all the particulars of that? I've heard scuttlebutt of it. One of my council colleagues in the committee mentioned it, but where's the full disclosure on that program? Seems like everybody knows all about it except this committee on some members. So can you tell us more about this supposed early incentive program, which, by the way, I've heard scuttlebutt. What is particulars? Why is it only offered to 1033 employees? What's the financial impact on the retirement? Did anybody do any actuarial studies? If so, what are they? What do they say? And what's the purpose? There's usually a goal when you do this, meaning like, we want to do a retirement incentive. Usually they make a public announcement and say, our goal is to save $30 million by doing this program. And then also tell us how the impact is going to be on the city's retirement system, right? If you end up having, for example, how many employees are eligible for this proposed early retirement system? How many 1033 workers do we have, madam?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay.
Chief Mancini, do you know?
So what do we have, Mr.
According to our report, 681 active employees in 1033.
So 681 active. Yep, hang on a second. 681 active employees, right? So the question, out of that employee, how many are eligible for this program? That's the first question.
Mr. Chairman, if I may give some additional testimony beyond that of Director Silveria. At the last time we met, these questions were asked of the team, and I provided with you the information that was available, bearing in mind that the period for enrollment or acceptance of this program for the local 1030 members has just begun at the end of last week, and will continue till the end of the month of October. There will be sessions held with the bargaining unit employees that'll be conducted by Department of Human Resources, local 1033 officials, and officials of finance will join or retirement to discuss that. The provisions today are that there are 2 components. There is a group of individuals who are 65 or older, who have at least 10 years of service. As you know, you need at least 10 years to be vested for any pension benefit or pension rights. So that group would probably be somewhere between 30 and 40 people based upon preliminary review of employment records that would fit that category. The second group is for any employee who has 28 years or more at any age. If you allow me to discuss both components. The group that is 65 years of age or older, that has at least 10 years service, will be offered an opportunity to leave the workforce with a $5,000 stipend. They're allowed to be carried up to 11 weeks of vacation before December 31. Normally, the maximum amount you can carry is 6 weeks. As the city accrues its vacation balances at the beginning of the year, calendar year, normally a veteran employee could earn up to 5 weeks per year. Therefore, they won't have to wait until January. Those that are entitled to will receive those 5 weeks before they retire at a maximum of no more than 11 weeks. They would leave a retirement. They would also have the opportunity to have their health care covered for 2 years under a plan that depends on whether it's family plan or individual plan. The group that includes 28 years of service at any age would get a $3,500 stipend. Same thing, they would carry no more than 11 weeks vacation, including the 5 that would have been granted in January. And they too would get a health care benefit depending upon whether it's a family plan or single plan. But that benefit would only last, if it's a single plan, it would only be for 2 years versus if you're over 65, it would be for 4 years. The combined impact of that, Mr. Chairman, is that there could be upwards of 120 people that are eligible in Group 2, 28 years of service or greater. But we have put a limitation of no more than 45. And that 45 will be determined on a ranking order of seniority. So in total, the groups could approximate somewhere between 80 and 85 or 87 individuals between the two groups. Until we know who's in the group, we can't quantify the identical savings, but the savings is expected to be, first and foremost, as effective immediately as January 1. Those positions that are non-essential will not be hired and will not be posted. There is expectation that there'll be savings there. Last week, myself, Mr.
Mr. So with that said, what we talked about today about the comp and classification really has no impact on this, because if you're going to have anywhere from 40 to 50 to 60 city employees retiring, those positions aren't being eradicated with this proposed adoption this evening. So when I heard that discussion earlier by you and my colleagues saying that somehow us removing vacant, unfilled, funded positions to the tune of $4 million was somehow going to have an impact on this incentive retirement program is a falsehood. The reality is that if an employee retires under this program next week or next month, that position still exists. That position is not being removed in this proposed adopted comp class. So I want to make sure you state that for the record, because what was being portrayed was totally different. And the facts are the facts. This is when it comes to full disclosure, and we talk about transparency. And this is when I will put forward the full disclosure. So therefore, this incentive program and those jobs in retirement, what we did this evening about this proposed adoption has zero impact on this incentive program, has zero impact on those jobs. Because those jobs, when they retire, will still exist when that person retires, and the city can hire into that position if they want to, or chooses not to. The positions that we chose to remove in the comp classification do not, or not part of, those 40, 50, 60 potential retirees. So that's the facts, and the public needs to know the facts. So what we did this evening had zero impact on this retirement incentive plan. Zero. Mr. Mancini just stated it for the record. And I want my council and committee members to know that. You need to have full understanding how it all works. Don't just assume. Trust, but verify. So Mr. Mancini, I want to just make sure I understand.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
I also want to know the actuarial reports. Where are the actuarial reports that justify this early retirement plan? Where are those reports?
Okay. I was about to give you.
Do we have them? No, do we have them? Yes or no? Do we have them, Mr. Mancini?
Well, if you allow me to testify, Mr. Chairman, I can give you your answer.
I know. Do we have them?
So you asked me. They are currently under discussion with the actuary. We only discussed this with them last week and gave them details.
So then even more so, Mr. Mancini, I have a question then. If we don't have the actual reports now, should we be offering an early retirement incentive program when we don't even know how it's going to have impact? So now, once again, as we dig deeper into this alleged early retirement program, we don't have the actual reports that show whether or not this is a financially prudent thing to do. Do we have those reports right now? Because we should have it now before we negotiate an offer.
What you do have, Mr. Chairman, is my ability to testify on record what I know, and if you would give me that opportunity, I might be able to enlighten you and the committee.
Are you the actuarial for the city of Providence when it comes to?
No, but I'm the city's chief financial officer who spoke to the actuary, and I'm about to give you that testimony, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I need a breath of air. I need you to take a breath of air and allow me to do that.
Okay.
But before we do that, Mr. Chairman, I was in the middle of giving a discussion. Mr. Chairman, it's gonna be one or the other. Either I'm gonna testify or you're gonna comment. I'm sorry to say.
Well, we can do both.
So
We can do
I
both
apologize
since I'm the
because
chair of the committee. But go ahead, you can
Allow me to
testify.
go back, Mr. Chairman. Allow me to go back to my testimony. My testimony is sincere and accurate if I can get it out. You indicated that the retirement incentive had no bearing. It was not parallel to the action you took tonight. I disagree with that, and here's why. Many of those that are retired.
Now you change your position.
No. You didn't. Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, you won't let me testify. I mean, it's got to be one or the other, so I'll be happy to testify. I'll put it in writing if you'd like. Listen to what I want to tell you.
Yeah, please
Thank you.
tell me how logic prevails in this conversation. Go ahead.
If you give me that opportunity, I'm sure I can convince you. I'm going to give a moment of silence so I can get my words out. Here's how logic prevails. The retirement incentive is geared towards long-standing members of the workforce, those that have matured to the end of their career in higher paying wages, in wages that have had step increases, that have maxed out, and maybe promotional salaries. When they retire, those positions will not be filled, more than likely, at that level. But what will be filled are positions that today that you have put a moratorium on that could have been offered at a lower price value. That's how it affects them. And Mr. Chairman, I submit that to you as sincere testimony. And without knowing position by position, I trust that you run the risk that some of
then
these
even
will
more
not be
so, then, Mr. Mancini, even more so, I look forward to that in 2 or 3 or 4 months, come January, February, when you have a better understanding how many people, when you have a better understanding how many people actually retire and leave city services.
We don't know that.
Then, by the way,
We don't know.
you can come back, the administration can come back, and they can then request an amendment to the comp and classification ordinance to explain how it saves money by adding that
We will.
position. And by the way,
We will, and I'll be happy to do so.
That's why we're doing this exercise. Continue, sir.
I'm happy to do so. And then let's talk about the actuary. I've
Yeah.
spoken to the actuary on a number of items in our continuing discussions, and we included this retirement incentive. At first blush, it probably is, while not quite neutral, no impact immediately, and that includes the FY21 budget that is still not yet adopted, and more than likely, no impact on the FY22 budget because that valuation report would not be due until at least at the earliest June of this coming year, maybe September of next year. So no impact based on information. And again, until the knowledge of how many participants are included. First of all, the healthcare will have no impact on the retirement number. That's a separate issue. So what we're talking about is those taking their retirement sooner, which will have I'm sure, a cash flow impact on the retirement assets, but not on the general fund budget. So that's my comment about
But Mr. Mancini, with the actuarial, at least in my limited experience, they can identify, you put together what the proposed program is, then identify the number of eligible individuals, and then it can give you the best, worst, and middle case scenarios. Let's say for sake of conversation, this program offers that out of 600 and, you said what, 1033 employees, let's say 100 of them there's 100 that can qualify. Well, then the actuarial can tell us what does that 100 mean. They can tell us that now. And then, of course, and then they can tell us as we move forward and find out how many actually do, they'll amend it and tell us exactly the full true impact. So I disagree with the fact that the actuarial cannot give us a good understanding of what kind of impact it would be. But I have the treasurer, and then I'm going to go back to Mr. Mancini. Treasurer?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. I disagree with the CFO on that position because let me explain why. Gina is not taken out, or the internal auditor took out funded positions. I think that has little impact on paying someone less. And I'm going to say if you're a union person in a senior job, you really can't eliminate it because their job description is required by union contract. So if you were able to do it, the positions would be available, the funding would be available from the higher paid positions. And so I think that would have little to no impact. And as you said, if it does, if they say, well, we think that you can recalculate it in this certain area, then the chairman's willing to listen. But I don't see that as having any impact, or very little impact, let me say that.
Thank you. Mr. Mancini, you want to continue, sir?
Well, I finished my remarks, Mr. Chairman, on the retirement incentive, and as I said to you earlier, there is a limitation. While there's 120 eligible, the reason why there's a limitation to only 45 is because we believe, based on our internal review, that those 45 would represent the largest component of who would be eligible, and the savings that we could generate beyond 45 would probably not be, would be non-existent. So I think that's a true number based on an analysis of the HR workforce, provisions of the workforce, and what we've seen already from salary review and those who may be eligible based on years of service. So that remains to be seen. The employee workshops will be held throughout the month of October. We will have a better indication by October 31st or thereabouts, November 1st, on exactly how many employees are willing to take this incentive. And I think we can track that accordingly over the next several weeks.
Mr. Mancini, is there going to be a cash incentive also?
Yes.
How much more?
So it's a $5,000 cash incentive for the group of employees who are 65 or over with 10 years of service. Maximum amount in that group is between 30 and 40 employees that would benefit from this. And if it's the group that's 28 years of service or greater with no regard to age, it'll be a $3,500 stipend.
Okay. And is there a reason why it's only for 1033 employees, not the rest of the workforce?
The common practice is that it generally is with career servants who generally stayed longer than one administration. I think that would be reflective of a bargaining unit workforce. I'm not quite sure how many non-bargaining, non-union employees would take advantage of this, but we gave that some thought. I don't think it's significant, perhaps less than a dozen.
What about an incentive, retirement incentive program? I mean, as you know, for police, fire, etc.
We haven't entertained that at the moment, Mr. Chairman. It didn't prove worthy of pursuit initially when we looked at it even 2 years ago. We thought that might be an option before any of those contracts were either up for consideration or expired. We always look at retirement incentives as part of contract negotiations. That's always an advantage. But depending upon, if you take fire has its natural term. There's a natural retirement based at between 20 and 30 leave annually. Police a little different, but that was under consideration during the last round of police negotiations, which those negotiations were put on hold during the COVID. So, but ordinarily we do look at that during contract negotiations.
Mr. Mancini, will the actuary also take into account the health care cost for these individuals? And what's the impact on that also?
Yes.
All right. Will we have that information too?
As soon as it's available, we'll share with the internal auditor and the committee.
Okay. Thank you. So I guess, any questions? I guess we can go on to the cost saving measures, Ms. Silvera.
Sure. So since the onset of COVID-19 pandemic, the administration has identified various budgetary impacts associated with revenue losses and or reductions. The most notable among these have been meals and beverage taxes, hotel taxes, parking revenue, speed camera revenue, and municipal fines. Various cost-saving measures have been identified and are currently being employed and or pursued for further development. They include the hiring of only essential positions, reduce an essential spend only, continuation of the work share program effective September 28th through December 31st with bargaining unit and non-union, reduced seasonal operations and programming, generating budgetary savings in salaries and operating expenses, delayed implementation of various departmental initiatives, bond portfolio analysis resulting in fiscal 21 and 22 refunding opportunities, a debt service reserve available for utilization for current debt service payments. We could increase the collection rate after we have a better idea of what collections look like after the second quarter collections, retirement incentive, and continuous tracking of and monitoring of expenses related to COVID-19 that might be eligible for FEMA reimbursement, and the early 21 pension ADC payment that we made in August.
Okay, thank you. Internal order, Treasurer, do you have anything you want to add to this?
I have a couple of comments.
Sure.
I have concern about the school zone speed cameras. My understanding by the contract is that the only ones that had the 30-day delay were new ones. So that might be underestimated. I may want to confirm that, but the only ones that have the 30-day warning periods are new cameras. That's how it was explained.
Okay, I may have misspoken. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. Right, and also I want the committee to understand that the contract for waste management was held up. That's about $300,000 a month. So July, August, and September has not yet been paid. Is that, 300,000 is about average. Is that correct, Sarah? Per month?
So I looked at it this morning. It looks like 2 months have been processed. So I'll have to look deeper into that for you.
If it's not reflected in the report, it's just that if we get another report and you see the number has gotten larger in a previous month, that's the reason why.
Yeah.
So, Madam Director, if you could just update, next week, continue to update this report on a weekly basis for the committee, and we'll have it as a standard. And then we'll also add additional questions as we move along. This is also a part of the committee and the council's fiduciary responsibility for oversight and checks and balances on the city's finances. All right. So, if you have additional questions or stuff that you need to have answered or add to please forward it to the Madam Director, and then she can address it accordingly.
Okay, I will. Thank you, Sarah.
All right, and then you can make the amendments. All right. Committee members, do you have any questions?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you. All right. And with that said, I guess this is a continuing discussion, so we'll do a motion to continue item number 6,
So
next
moved.
finance meeting.
Second.
Vice Chair, second by Council Castillo. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Mancini, Madam Director, Madam Deputy Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
Enjoy the financial discussion as usual. It's a spirited conversation, but we all have the same good intentions. We're all trying to protect the city, its taxpayers, and hopefully make the city, as sound and as sound financially as possible during these very difficult times. So I want to thank my committee members, by the way, because that's part of the conversation. This is where it happens. I'm going to remind everybody, and this is where you have these conversations. And I think it's important to take it for what it is. It's about learning, it's about understanding, and trying to move the city in a positive direction. So I just want to thank everybody and all their comments and concerns. With that, no more further business before this committee. Do I have a motion to continue? Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Vice Chair. Second by Council Castillo. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Aye.